25, text number 39. 39 and 40 together they are given. 3.25.39 and 40. Imam lokam tathaiva vamam atmanam udayayinam atmanam ubhayayinam atmanam anuyecheha ये राय पशवो गिरहा विसृज्य सर्वान् अन्यांश्च माम एवं विश्वतो मुखं भजन्ति अनन्या भक्तया तान् मृत्योरतिपारयये इमं लोकं तथैव वामुम् आत्मानम् उभयायिनम् आत्मानम् अनुयेचेह ये राय पशवो गिरहा विसृज्य सर्वान् अन्यांश्च माम एवं विश्वतो मुखं भजन्ति अनन्यया भक्त्या तान् मृत्योरतिपारये इमं लोकं तथैव वामुम् आत्मानम् उभयायिनम् आत्मानम् अनुयेचेह ये राय पशवो गिरहा विसृज्य सर्वान् अन्यांश्च माम एवं विश्वतो मुखं भजन्ति अनन्यया भक्तया तान् मृत्योरतिपारये. Word to word meaning. Imam, this lokam world, tatha accordingly, eva certainly, amum that world, Atmanam, the subtle body, Ubhaya in both, Ayanam traveling, Atmanam the body, Anu in relationship with, Ye those who, Cha also, Iha in this world, Ye that which, Rayaha wealth, Pashavaha cattle, Griha houses, Visrajya having given up, Sarvan all, Anyan Adarcha and Mam me evam thus Vishwatah Mukham the all pervading Lord of the universe Bhajanti they worship Ananyaya unflinching Bhaktya by devotional service Tan them Mrityo of death Atiparaye I take to the other side. Okay, Hare Krishna. So this is very important verses. So Lord Kapila, as we know, since Mind's same section is going on, that Lord Kapila is giving teachings, or you can say answering the questions of Mother Devati. So in that same sequence, Mother Devati asked the question that what is the other kind of bhakti which is what kind of bhakti which is good for me to perform. She understood that among all the processes, among all the yogas, bhakti yoga is the best, but now she is asking what kind of bhakti is best. So in that sequence of in that explanation of the answer of this question, Lord Kapila explained that this is the way, and then now, so he explained that there are like sadhana bhakti, then Vaidhi bhakti, like that. So now he is explaining, like yesterday's verse was like who are raga, who are spontaneous devotees, spontaneous love they have for Krishna. So that was the yesterday's discussion. But now for them who don't have spontaneous love, for them it is explained here. Okay, so 39 and 40 is called Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Okay. 32 to 38 it was spontaneous bhakti, which is called Bhava Bhakti. And for those devotees who are not qualified for Bhava Bhakti or spontaneous love, for them this process is recommended, which is called Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, or you can say non-spontaneous devotional service. So in that, what Lord Kapila is saying that thus Okay. Thus the devotee who worship me, the all-pervading Lord of the universe, in unflinching devotional service. First thing, unflinching devotional service. Gives up all aspirations to be promoted to heavenly planets or to become happy in this world with wealth, children, cattle, home, or anything in relationship with the body. ठीक है. Lord Kapila is saying that first of all thing is the devotee worship me in unflinching devotional service, ananya bhaktya, and then he gives up all aspirations to be promoted to heavenly planets or to become happy in this world with wealth, children, cattle, means in present world you can say automobile, cars and other thing, home or anything in relationship with the body. He gives up all those aspirations, and that kind of devotee, I take him to the other side of birth and death. Okay, so giving up attachment to bodily identification, which produces the enjoyment in this life and the next, and giving up as the related persons such as wife and sons and items such as wealth and animals, house, car, this all. The devotees who exclusively perform bhakti or worship me, who stand before them wherever they are, I take them beyond the ocean of birth and death. Lord Kapila is saying, I will take them beyond the ocean of birth and death. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Prabhupada is saying, unflinching devotional service as described in these two verses means, now what is the meaning of unflinching devotional service? So that Prabhupada is explaining here, that unflinching devotional service means engaging oneself in full Krishna consciousness or devotional service with the acceptance, what acceptance? That the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is all in all. Since the Supreme Lord Krishna is all inclusive, if anyone worships Him with unflinching faith, he has automatically achieved all other opulences and performed all other duties. This is a very important line. If anyone worships Krishna with unflinching faith, he has automatically achieved all other opulences and performed all other duties, because now he is directly serving Krishna. What else he need in this world? The Lord promises herein that he takes his devotee, or you can say practically also like Sudama, he achieved everything what is not there for him, right? So unflinching faith is very much, unflinching faith means like when there is all the possible reason and all the possible logics are there to break the relationship, but still the relationship continues, still the service continues. That is called unflinching faith. Or you can say that unflinching faith in Krishna consciousness means that just by performing Krishna conscious activities, by chanting Hare Krishna, my life will be successful. This is called unflinching faith. I have no faith in any of the process of this world. I have faith in Krishna's word, that just by chanting Hare Krishna and following the rules and regulation of Krishna consciousness, Krishna conscious life, my life will be successful. I will achieve perfection. Everything will happen good only. This is called whatever happens, but I will chant Hare Krishna. This is called unflinching faith. The Lord promises herein that he takes his devotee to the other side of birth and death. Krishna is promising here that I will take you other side of birth and death. That means his own abode. Okay, Lord Chaitanya therefore recommended that one who aspires to go beyond birth and death, should have no material possessions. This is another way of explaining the same thing, very easy way, that if you have means you can have only one side. You cannot be sitting in the two boats. Okay, so if you have Krishna, or you want to go beyond birth and death, that is your aspiration, then what? Then you cannot have, or you should not have, aspiration to achieve material possessions. Okay, you can work and live your life, that is different thing, but the aspiration is what? Aspiration is to achieve Krishna. Okay, so this means that one should not try to be happy in this world or to be promoted to the heavenly world, nor should he try for material wealth, children, houses or cattle. So how liberation is imperceptibly achieved by a pure devotee, and what the symptoms have been explained. For the conditioned soul, there are two statuses of living. One status is in this present life, and the other is our preparation for the next life. If I am in the mode of goodness, then I may be preparing. So there are two status. One is the present life, and the other is preparation for the next life. So if I am in the mode of goodness, then I may be preparing for promotion to the higher planets. Satoguni people, they plan for promotion to the higher planets like Swargaloka, Janaloka, Maharloka, Tapaloka, Sataloka, like that. If I am in the mode of passion, Rajoguna, then I shall remain here in society where activity is prominent, this society. But if I am in the mode of ignorance, Tamoguna, I may be degraded to animal life or a lower grade of human life. Okay, so Satoguna people go to higher planets, Rajoguna people remain in this same place, and Tamoguna people go to degraded life, lower life. But now devotee is beyond these three gunas. He is not in this three gunas category. So for a devotee, there is no concern for this life or the next life, because in any life he does not desire an elevation in material prosperity or a high grade or low grade life. He does not desire only. Okay. Okay. So devotee prays to the Lord, my dear Lord, it does not matter where I am born, but let me be born even as an ant, but in the house of a devotee. So devotee is not very much about whether he is going to Swargaloka or Narakloka or wherever. He is worrying about service, association of devotees. He wants satsang. So devotees prays, my dear Lord, whatever you desire for me, I know it is best. So you do as you wish. If you want, I will. If you want to give me birth like an ant, okay, is fine. But give me the life of an ant, if you want, in the house of a devotee. If I become any species, but if I can remain nearby devotees, that is good for me. Because devotees' desire is to be in the association of devotees, in the satsang. He want to always remain in satsang. Okay, if we see in Bhagavatam, many devotees like Dhruva, Prahlad, and many other, like Prithu Maharaj, and even Lord Shiva, even demigods, everyone prays for getting association of a devotee. Satsang, they want to go in the association of devotees. Like Dhruva, Lord Krishna appeared in front of Dhruva and asked, what do you want? Krishna already in front of him, what he want now? right? He should have said, you take me to your planet or something. But he asked Krishna that, my dear Lord, give me benediction so that I can remain in the association of devotees, your pure devotees. I can remain in that satsang. Because even in the when somebody is in the association of devotees, he will sure become devotees. That is the idea. He will not get diverted, he will not get distracted. So that is why it is recommended that one should be always in the association of devotees. And if not possible 24/7, then one can try his best to get association as much as possible. Okay. So, a pure devotee does not pray to the Lord for liberation from this material bondage. Actually, the pure devotee never thinks that he is fit for liberation. He does not pray for liberation, and he also never thinks that he is fit for liberation. He is qualified for liberation. He thinks himself very low. Considering his past life and his mischievous activities, he thinks that he is fit to be sent to the lowest region of hell. Actually, this is the devotee actually feel like that. He never feels that he is devotee. This is the thing. He never feels that he is devotee. He is doing good. Like someone goes to temple 5-7 days continuously. He feels, I am now very nice devotee because I am doing so much bhakti. But devotee, when the more we progress in devotional life, the more we feel that we are not progressing. This is the thing. He feels that he is not devotee. What he thinks, he considers his past life, his mischievous activities. At least in this life, I might have done so many mischievous activities. So he thinks that, and he feels that he is actually not at all qualified for liberation. He is actually fit to be sent to the lowest region of hell, to Narak Loka. He is thinking like that. So if in this life I am trying to become a devotee, this does not mean that in my many past lives I was 100% pious. No. There is no guarantee. In this life I am trying to become a devotee, but in previous many lives I might have done the most sinful activities. Even in this life I might have done most sinful activities. But now, by the mercy of devotees, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada books, I got some idea and I am trying to practice. So, if in this life I am trying to become a devotee, this does not mean that in my many past lives I was 100% pious. That is not possible. A devotee, therefore, is always conscious of his real position. Okay, only by his full surrender to the Lord, by the Lord's grace, are his sufferings made shorter. What is it? Only by devotee's full surrender to Krishna, by the Krishna's grace, are his sufferings made shorter. A person might have done very sinful activities, very big, and as the result of that sinful activity, suppose he should get accident and he should get a fracture. But now he is practicing devotional service. So by the mercy of Krishna, by the grace of Krishna, maybe that pain will get shorter. In place of fracture, he will get a scratch only, like that. So Krishna makes it shorter. He reduces the things. The more we do bhakti, the more he reduces it. So as stated in Bhagavad Gita, surrender unto me, he is saying, he promised it. What Krishna said? Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami ma shuchaha. Surrender unto me and I will give you protection from all kinds of sinful reaction. This is guarantee given by only Krishna. and this guarantee can be given only by Krishna. Nobody else can give this guarantee that I will protect you from your sinful reaction. No Devi Devta can protect. They will give only what you do, and as per your activities and karma, they will give the result. That is the job of demigods, Devi Devta. Devi Devta cannot change your karma. They can reshuffle it. Here, there, they can do something. Like for example, somebody has to get some wound here, and something they will say na that okay, astrology they will see okay, if you do this kind of danger is coming in your life, so if you do this puja, then it may go like that. So it is not like that. It is, who knows, that was only your karma. Okay, and if you do also that puja, then this thing may get postponed, but it will come. It will come in different form. Okay, so nobody can actually change your karma except Krishna. So only Krishna can promise like this, that if you surrender unto me only, I will give you protection from all kinds of sinful reaction. Aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshishyami ma sucha. Krishna gives this promise. He has promised this to every one of us. But we are not believing his words. What to do? So that is his mercy. So but this does not mean, okay, let's come to the next point. But this does not mean that one who has surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord has committed no misdeeds in his past life. If somebody has surrendered today, then we cannot say that in his past life he have not done anything bad. He might have done, but today he surrendered, so he is cleared. Okay. So, yes, like they say, na, every saint has a past, like that, something. So a devotee always prays. What is the prayers of a devotee? A devotee always prays, for my misdeeds may I be born again and again, but my only prayer is that I may not forget your service. I should always remain engaged in your divine service, devotional service. The devotee has that much mental strength, and he prays to the Lord. Devotee prays like that, that I have done, my dear Krishna, I have done so many misdeeds in my past life. So may you give me any punishment, whatever you like. But please, my prayer is that please you make such arrangements so that I may not forget your service. I may not forget your holy name to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. He has that much mental strength, and he prays to the Lord. He prays to the Krishna, may I be born again and again, but let me be born in the home of your pure devotees, so that I may again get a chance to develop myself. Okay. So this is the greatest blessing, that somebody takes birth in the family where devotees are there. Okay. Or somebody's parents or elders pushes him to perform bhakti. This is the greatest blessing of Krishna. So Krishna has already blessed us. Otherwise, many devotees, family members oppose, oh, don't go to ISKCON temple. So, a pure devotee is not anxious to elevate himself in his next birth. He has already given up that sort of hope. You don't want to get elevated to some Swargaloka or something. These are the qualities of devotees. In any life in which one is born as a householder or even as an animal or anything, one must have some children, some resources or some possession. But a devotee is not anxious to possess anything. Everybody is anxious to have something, right? Somebody want home, somebody want car, somebody want kids, somebody want husband, somebody want wife, somebody want position, name, fame. Everyone has some hope, some desire to possess something. Okay, but a devotee has no such desire to possess anything. He is satisfied with whatever is obtainable by Krishna's grace. Whatever Krishna's, by mercy of Krishna, whatever he gets, he is satisfied, he is happy. He is not at all attached to improving his social status or improving the status of education of his children. He is not neglectful. So one should not think that he is neglectful. He is not neglectful. He is dutiful, but he does not spend too much time on the upliftment of temporary household or social life. He performs his duty to give education to children, to take care of everything. He performs all his duties, but he is it is not on extreme end, like completely neglectful. Children are sick, but he is not taking them to hospital. No, not like that. And he is not on the other side, that completely neglectful about Krishna, about bhakti, never goes to temple, always busy. So he is dutiful. He understands that what is my duty for my family, my own body, my health. He performs all those things, and he also understands what is my duty for Krishna. As a soul, what my duties are. Okay. He fully engages in the service of the Lord, and for other affairs he simply spares as much time as absolutely necessary. Yathartham upayanjutaha. Actually, absolutely whatever is necessary, that only he performs. He gives full attention to Krishna, and other than Krishna, whatever is absolutely necessary, that he performs. Like for cooking, he needs some food, so he will do some cooking. Like if he has a household life, family and children, he goes to work and he does like that. But what is absolutely necessary? Okay, now how we all understand, like, okay, 5 days we have office now, say 6th and 7th, Saturday and Sunday you are free now. That day you can go to temple, right? So absolutely necessary is to go 5 days office. But now some people will not come to temple, they will sit in the office only, or they will go to somewhere here, there. Okay, like that. You getting it? Okay. So the point is that devotee is dutiful. He is not irresponsible, but he is more responsible actually. He understands his material duties, plus he also understands his spiritual duties. So such a pure devotee does not care for what is going to happen in the next life or in this life. He does not care even for family, children or society. He fully engages in the service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness. So whatever he does in a flavor of Krishna consciousness, even if it is for family, for children, for whatever, but he does in Krishna conscious manner. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that without the knowledge of the devotee, the Lord arranges for his devotee to be that without the knowledge. Okay, the Lord arranges for his devotee to be immediately transferred to his transcendental abode just after leaving his body. If a devotee performs bhakti in such a way, then Krishna will arrange his transfer. Just after leaving this body, he will go to Vaikuntha. After quitting his body, he does not go into the womb of another mother. No next birth. After leaving this body, he will not go to the womb of next mother. Okay, the ordinary common living entity after death is transferred to the womb of another mother according to his karma, that means his activities, or to take another type of body. That mother can be in the human species, in the animal species, in the birds, insects, or anything, demigods, according to karma. But as far as the devotee is concerned, he is at once transferred to the spiritual world in the association of Krishna. That is the Krishna's special mercy. How it is possible is explained in the following verses. Because he is all powerful, the Lord can do anything and everything. He can excuse all sinful reactions. He can immediately transfer a person to Vaikuntha Loka. He can excuse. If Krishna wants, Krishna can excuse all the sinful reactions. Okay, you are free. He can immediately transfer a person to Vaikuntha Loka. We cannot question, oh, why you sent him, what was his qualification. No, he wanted, he did it. Okay. That is the conceivable power of, that is the inconceivable power of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is favorably disposed to the pure devotees. Krishna is favorably disposed to the pure devotees. He gives favor to his devotees. Okay, so these two verses now describes non-spontaneous sadhana bhakti. That means we have to do some sadhana. So these devotees give up attachment to being the enjoyer, Atmanam. That attachment that I am the enjoyer, that thing they gives up. This attachment leads to the attachment to attachment to being the enjoyer leads to attachment to visible enjoyment of this world. Visible enjoyment. First, the subtle thing is that I want to become enjoyer, and that comes in the attachment to visible enjoyment of this world and attachment to invisible enjoyment of next life. In this life there are some visible enjoyment and also there is some invisible enjoyment. He thinks, okay, maybe I'll go become Indra or Swarga or king or something like that. So just as one who is attached to material enjoyment praises enjoyment, one who has rejected the enjoyment criticizes it. Okay, simple it is. So Jushmanaschatan kaman dukho darkam shagareham. 11th canto it is mentioned that even though he is sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment, sometimes even he may get engaged in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result and he sincerely repents such activities. In case a devotee gets engaged in sense enjoyment but still he knows it, that this sense gratification will take him to some very miserable condition, and for that then he sincerely repents for that activity, that I have done a mistake. Okay, he also rejects other things related to this material things. So Krishna is saying, I, the Lord, stand in front of my devotee. Wherever they go, Vishwato Mukham, they have bhakti which is devoid of karma, jnana, and bhakti to devatas, demigod worship. So I, Krishna is saying that I, the Lord, make them cross beyond the ocean of samsara, the birth and death. Even thought they do not want to cross samsara since they desire only bhakti. Devotee don't even want this also, that you give me liberation, you give me freedom from birth and death. He don't want anything. Devotee want only bhakti, he want only service. But Krishna is saying that I will take them to my abode. Okay, so devotee, they desire only bhakti, but Krishna is saying I don't tell them that I will take you to this, but I will take them. Krishna is saying I will take them to my abode, I will finish their birth and death samsara, cycle of birth and death, I will finish it. Okay, so like that. Okay, so in 28 shloka, Mother Devati asked one question. Okay, so that answer is going on now. What kind of bhakti should I perform to easily attain your feet? That was the question in 28th shloka. 29th shloka question was explain the jnana by which one understand the tattvas. So this answer will come in 26th and 27th chapter. And explain the yoga aimed at the Lord for liberation. How many limbs yoga have? This was the question 4th. This will be answered in the 28th chapter. Now the second question was, what kind of bhakti should I perform to easily attain your lotus feet? That question's answer will be here. Exactly, direct answer. Okay, 31 to so 31 to 44 this answer is discussed. So we have come to now 40 shloka. Okay, the answer is from 31 to 44, so we have reached till 40 shloka. Fine. So now 41 shloka. Okay, so 39, 40 Vedi Sadhana Bhakti. Now further. Now 41 shloka. Okay, let me see. Okay, it is quite big. Tomorrow we will do. Okay, so to 41 we can do tomorrow. So let us. Okay, so now let me ask you if you want to share something, what you have heard or learned, or any question or comment. So you must speak something at least. Okay, what point you understood today, or something you want to know, or something you liked. Hare Krishna.